Alright, let's say we wanted to figure out the average rate of change between 2 points on a particular function. In this case, I wanted to determine the average rate of change from x is equal to -3 to x is equal to 2, and our function in question here is f of x is equal to x minus 2x squared. Alright, so we know that the average rate of change is technically the slope of the secant, and from the previous video we discussed that the slope of the secant is f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1. This is equivalent to the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 formula. It's basically rise over run. Alright, so in this case, let's say that x2 is our endpoint, right? So I'm going to say x1 here is -3 and x2 here is 2. Okay, so f of x2 is basically f of 2, which is equal to, if I plug in 2 into the function, you get 2 minus 2 times 2 squared, which is 2 minus 2 times 4, which will give you -6. Alright, so what this is telling us is that f of 2 is equal to -6. In translation, what that reads out is y when x is equal to 2 is equal to -6. So the point here is 2 and -6. Okay, so that's one possible point on our graph. The other point, I'm going to use x1, f of -3 here. If I plug this into my function, I get -3 minus 2 times -3 squared, and basically you get -3 minus 2 times 9, which is -3 minus 18, and that's -21. Okay, so f of -3 is equal to -21. Alright, now the equivalent point for this guy is -3 and -21. Okay, so now we have 2 points, right? We have 2 and -6, and we have -3 and -21. I'm going to use the equation, slope of the secant, and if I look at the slope of the secant, f of x2 is basically f of 2, right? So it's -6. So you get -6 minus f of x1, which we said was basically -3, this is x1, right? Is basically -21. And this is over x2, which is 2, and it's basically mentioned here, and x1 here is -3, right? So you get, if you kind of do all these operations, you get -6 minus -21, right? So -6 plus 21, you get 15 over 2 minus 3, which is 5. So the slope of the secant is basically 3. Okay, so that's the slope of the secant.